For over 700 years, they were the soul of Japan, an elite class of warriors, bound by a code of honor as sharp and unyielding as their legendary blades. They were the samurai. Their world was one of tradition, of cherry blossoms and steel, governed by the strict principles of Bushido, courage, integrity, and absolute loyalty to their lord. In the shadow of serene temples and imposing castles, they were the artists of war, the guardians of a feudal order that seemed as eternal as the mountains themselves. Life followed the rhythm of the seasons, and the sword was the ultimate arbiter of fate. The samurai were more than soldiers. They were poets, scholars, and statesmen, the living embodiment of a culture steeped in discipline and beauty. Their armor was a work of art, their every movement a practiced ceremony. They believed their way of life was unshakable, a legacy forged in the fires of countless battles, destined to endure for 1,000 generations. But even the most timeless traditions can be shattered by the future. In 1853, the future arrived without invitation. It came in the form of colossal, smoke-belching warships, black against the horizon. American Commodore Matthew Perry had forced Japan's gates open after centuries of isolation, and in doing so, he had lit a fuse. The world outside was a world of industry, of cannons and rifles, of ideas that threatened to capsize the old ways. Japan was thrown into turmoil. A bitter conflict erupted, the Boshin War. It was a war for the nation's soul. On one side stood the forces of the Tokugawa shogunate, loyal to the old feudal system, and the samurai's place within it. On the other, a coalition of reformers rallied around the young Emperor Meiji, who believed Japan's survival depended on radical, immediate change. It was a brutal, heartbreaking clash of eras. The samurai, with their swords and spears, charged against modern Gatling guns and disciplined rifle-wielding infantry. Their courage was magnificent, their martial skill legendary, but it was a valor belonging to a bygone age. The katana, for all its deadly grace, could not stop a bullet. The old world was bleeding out on the battlefields of the new. The emperor's forces were victorious. The Meiji Restoration began, a revolution that would transform Japan at a breathtaking pace. Feudal domains were abolished, and a centralized government was formed. And in 1876, the most devastating decree of all was issued. The samurai class was officially abolished. Their right to wear swords in public, the very symbol of their identity, was stripped away. They were cut adrift. A new national army composed of conscripts from all social classes replaced them as the nation's defenders. The warriors who had defined Japan for centuries were suddenly obsolete. Some tried to rebel, clinging to the last vestiges of their honor in doomed uprisings like the Satsuma Rebellion, led by the tragic hero Saigo Takamori. But these were the final, desperate gasps of a dying order. Others tried to adapt, trading their swords for pens and their armor for Western business suits. They became bureaucrats, teachers, and entrepreneurs, channeling their discipline into building a new modern nation. The transition was painful, a profound identity crisis for a proud people. The samurai as a class was gone, a ghost haunting the new landscape of factories and railways. Yet their spirit did not vanish entirely. The code of Bushido, with its emphasis on loyalty, discipline, and self-sacrifice, was woven into the fabric of modern Japanese society. It shaped the nation's schools, its corporations, and its military. The sword was sheathed, but the soul of the warrior endured, a silent, powerful legacy echoing through the decades. The age of the samurai was over, but their story became a timeless legend of honor, change, and the inevitable, often tragic march of history. Subscribe.